Years and years and years ago, I bought a cheap, small, bench-mounted pillar drill, and over the years I've made a few modifications to it to make it more suitable for the sort of things I do, and this video just shows what I've done. Initially, the primary modification was to make a hand-operated chuck to avoid the need to use the key-operated Jacobs type chuck quite so often. I think I've had this cheapest chips drill press probably for about 25 or 30 years. I really can't remember. I had it a long time anyway. And one of the places I repurpose old drill chucks is actually on this machine. I never throw old drill chucks away, but extricate them from whatever they came from, mostly defunct battery powered power tools like this thing here, although that one's not defunct, that's fine. But I extricate them out of that and keep them in a box against the day that I ever find a use for them. The sort of stuff I do in my workshop involves an awful lot of changing of drill sizes. I work a lot in the BA sizes and clearance holes and tapping holes, and often the part that I'm working on has multiple different sizes of BA, so there's lots and lots of drills to change, and it's a serious pain to have to keep using the conventional chuck and key to keep changing drills. One of the things I do therefore with chucks from disused drills is to remove the original shaft, whatever it was, and actually make up and mount an arbor, in this case a plain shank job, so that it can actually be mounted in the conventional truck in the drill press. One of the things you do have to check for when reusing chucks, because they're not all the same, is that the jaws do come together with a good fit. Some do and some don't, and that's really crucial when you're putting your number 50s and number 60 drills in and so on, so that the chuck will hold them without any problems. So using this method of recovering the chucks, it converts the conventional sort of Jacobs type into a chuck that you can just do by hand. This is a number 60 drill, for example. And there you are. You probably can't see it, but it's actually running good true. This brass bit is actually a bit of it's a plumbing nut which I turned and fitted over the end, because in removing this chuck from its original drill, things got a bit chewed up, and the grippy part that tightens it got broken, so my result was to make that and just live with the other twisted bit. But it works very well, and up to about 3/8, so I think it's the capacity of this thing. It's fine. If you have to drill a larger hole, well, no big deal. You use the original 1/2 inch chuck. The hard part is not to drop and lose everything. I don't know if you can see that, but there you are. That's a number 60 drill removed and will be replaced. I mean, this is not for anything particular, but replace it with whichever size drill you happen to be playing with at the time, for clearance and drilling and tapping and so on and so forth. Another modification I made to this cheap drill press is to increase the length of the column. This is the original column and the head used to sit around here somewhere, but for many things that I do, and I'll show you a bit more in a second, it just wasn't high enough. So what I did, I found a bit of tube in my box of miscellaneous tubes and simply turned a spigot on the end and put it into the end of the original column. There was a slight issue because the original column on this used to fit into the drilling head and had been turned and was turned down to shoot. That creates a bit of an issue if you want to move the table higher up, which you don't with this chuck in place, but in some cases you do, and what you're messing about with. So I overcome that problem with a piece of brass which brings the OD effectively of this column to the same as that column, and the table, trust me, can pass the piece of brass. You just bring it up till it gets to there, move the circlip out of the way and slide it up. I have to say, if I have to do that about once in 1,000 times, it's probably an exaggeration, so it's not an issue at all really. I mostly, but not always, make little steam engines for my garden railway. And another drawback of the table as original was that it was a bit too small to support some of the things I needed to drill. I mean, my approach is I start off making something and will often assemble the chassis and everything else, so the part has some length to it, no weight but some length. And rather than take things apart to drill a hole that I forgot, I will then place the assembly on the table for further drilling. I'll show you what I mean. So for example, this is the chassis of my current project, proceeding very, very slowly. Not today, but there will come a time when things are going to get bolted to this that will need subsequent drilling, and the extra table width that I've created by bolting on 2 pieces of angle iron and just making them level with the original bit is good enough for what I do, and will enable, when the time comes, and it surely will, additional holes to be drilled in this chassis, whether that way or whichever way we have to go. Clearly there'll have to be some packing up to make things level, but usually that's not a big deal. A time will surely come when I've got to drill some holes for whatever purpose in what will be the buffer beams. To do that and to get the extra height of this model, which is about 16 inches long, I've actually removed my drill chuck extension, whatever you want to call that, and the additional column height, as you can see, enables this engine to just be stood on end for whatever drilling or other operations I've got to perform. When the original head was actually down here, there was obviously no way that a part of this length could ever be drilled, and I do find this quite useful, and actually get this facility to have the extra height has been utilised on almost any model I've ever made for the garden railway anyway, so it's quite handy lengthening the column. Clearly the dimensions of the table could be further increased if I simply bolted an additional bit of plate to the top, but I have never found that necessary. I've never had to do that. and as you can see, if we look underneath, the angle has been bolted into the side of the original table, and on this side, I mean I did this so long I can't remember, but on this side I must have got something not quite right, and I've actually machined on the mill this surface down a little bit so that there's no step. My marking out must have been a bit better this side because the issue didn't arise over here. But as you can see, it's just standard angle line, nothing special. Just gives me a bit more facility. As you can see on this section of video, the table does, I haven't moved the little clip, but the table does pass comfortably over the piece of brass, and actually doesn't have any shake. It's difficult to do this one-handed, but there we go. And it's by some miracle the one is a decent fit on the other, so that works very well. So there we have it then, some very simple and free really modifications to a cheap drill press, bench mounted of course, a cheap drill press to give it a bit more facility for the sort of things that I use it for. I think I mentioned, I really don't know, it's 25-30 years old this machine, never been a bit of trouble, never had to change the belt. Renew the belt, that is. Obviously I changed it for speeds, never had to renew the belt. I shouldn't say all this because it'll go wrong now, but it's been absolutely brilliant actually. I realised this video started out as 2 minutes on the small modifications I'd made to my cheap drill press, but I thought suddenly might be worth showing this. This is a small vise, obviously, which is the most commonly used thing on the drill press for holding small parts while I drill tiny holes in them. Yes, I know you're supposed to clamp everything down and oh well, anyway, still I'm old and stupid and I can do what I like. The interesting thing about this, and there are no maker's marks on it at all, I have had it forever. I don't know where I got it, I don't know where it came from, but it must be massively old. But it has right and left hand lead screw, so that both jaws actually move. I've never seen one like it before. As I say, I've got absolutely no idea whether it's a proprietary thing on Handmade. It is chewed up. The lead screws and things have had various things drilled into them, and as is the top. And I want to stress that wasn't me. I did not do that. I take more care. I tend not to drill into the lead screws and things like that. This is how I got it. It's clearly made for a specific purpose. There is a sort of machine surface on the bottom with a small rebate, but that is not tapered at all, so I cannot imagine, and the ends look a bit handmade, don't they, when I come to look at that. But anyway, so I cannot imagine that it was ever really intended to be clamped down, or if it was, I guess it would have slid along something and held it by hand, I guess. I don't know. That's the best guess I can come up with. I just hold it. But quite interesting. Had massive amounts of use. It is my go-to vise compared to the bigger ones. I can just see it there, and even compared to my Myford proprietary vise. I prefer this thing. It just seems to hold everything much better. So there we are. Especially useful for drilling and tapping 10BA, which I use a lot. So for example, on this bit of chaos under construction, the cylinder block or blocks have around 50 10BA holes drilled and tapped in the various different types of component, and this thing makes mincemeat of it and you can comfortably handle some of the stuff that would otherwise be extremely difficult to hold. That's the job. A big thank you to those who have kindly subscribed to my channel.